Hey, I'm back, and this time we're talking.
Last night took a L, but tonight I bounce back.
Life happens, things happen, but how do you bounce back off of them and get your life back together? Well, find out in this video. So whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a conversation, a job, where you live, whatever situation, whatever you're going through, it has you to where it's hit you and you got to bounce back off of it, right? So whatever you do, if you kind of just hone in on these 3 things, then you don't have to make it more complicated than it needs to be, right? So whether it's a relationship you're in and you broke up or something happened in it and it has you feeling down, right? Whether it's a friendship that you have, maybe you're not as close as you need to be, or you're noticing your friendship is transitioning into just a different kind of friendship. Or a conversation where you went into the conversation optimistic and then it kind of just, after the conversation, left you kind of down about yourself or insecure or second guessing something. Or even a job where you went into it great, but now you're kind of feeling like undervalued, or anything, any of those categories, or any category I failed to mention. If you're feeling like something's kind of gotten down on you or kind of just like hit you, and how do you bounce back from it? All those things are coming at you like a ball, like life. It's gonna hit you, but it's not about, oh, why has it hit me? Why has it hurt my feelings? You know, one of my favorite sayings, it's not about what happens to you, it's about what you do about what happens to you. You become a judge all of a sudden. All right? So, how do you do it? Well, I just kind of focus on 3 main things. I prepare, I remind myself of who I am, and I pick myself up again. So the first thing, prepare. Prepare for the worst to happen. Now I know this could be a gray or fine line between thinking of always the worst is gonna happen, but stay optimistic. You know, I stay optimistic, stay positive, but acknowledging that anything can happen. So as much as any good thing can happen, anything bad can happen. So prepare yourself, but prepare yourself while thinking positive. So for instance, if you're in a relationship, and I'm not saying be in a relationship preparing yourself for it to be over, but knowing that you're gonna be okay if the relationship ends. It's great why it's happening and embrace it while it's happening, but think like, if I don't have this, it's not gonna be the end of the world. It'll be disappointing and maybe I'll be sad about it, but my whole world won't come to an end. You're gonna be okay. But prepare yourself to know that there's nothing that can happen to you that will break you completely. It will be sad, it will suck, it'll be very unfortunate, but you'll still want to continue to live. You'll still have purpose, right? Or even in a friendship, if this person stopped being your friend, what would you do? Would you feel like, I have nobody, I have no friends, nothing? Or would you be like, it would be extremely sad, I'll be extremely sad about it, but I know if that person's not meant to be my friend, there's still someone else. Same thing with relationship. If it ends, you have to trust and know if it was supposed to be, it would have still lasted, right? There's these moments in our life where you have the potential to think like it's all over. This is it for me. You know what I mean? But I honestly feel like that's a test to prepare you. Like, do you think if you lose this one thing, because when you lose something, it's kind of one area of your life. Whenever we think it's attacked every area of our life, we're kind of, I don't want to say the word over-exaggerating, but we're kind of over-exaggerating, right? If I lose my job, my whole world's not over. That's just that. I still have friends, those stand true. I still have family. I still have myself. You still have your health, you know, but we like to think that the whole world is coming to an end when it's just a kind of a part of our life. For instance, let's say a job, right? How do you bounce back from a job that doesn't value you as an employee or somebody that works with them, or a business that you work with, or a client or something like that? If that job were to go away, if that client were to go away, if your career were to stop in the direction that you think it is, would you feel like it's over for you? If your answer is yes, it's okay. Thinking about it first, it hasn't happened yet, so you're okay. But think about, if this is over, will you be okay? I'm not saying it won't be disappointing or sad or a horrible or it's gonna be fine, but knowing that your life still has purpose without that job. You're more than the way you make money. You're more than that, right? Jobs will come and go. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is indefinite, right? Michael Jordan, the best of all time, that's a job where people can think of like, oh, he'll never get fired. As long as he wants to do it, he does it. But now that he's not a professional basketball player, he still needs to have purpose in knowing who he is, right? Same for you, right? The way you do your job in your 20s or your 30s isn't going to be the same way you do it in your 60s, right? At some point, somebody's going to shift and grow. And if you only find purpose in that thing, in that job, or that purpose, or that person, when it's gone, you'll cease to have purpose or feel that you have purpose. So realizing everything in your life that came will also go. So you need to also be okay with that. Not saying don't be sad about it, but still feel and know that you have purpose. So when it happens, don't be like, I had no idea. Prepare yourself to know that it could happen, it might happen, and that you'll be okay if it does. Okay. I know one thing I went through was after I quit one of my major jobs, one of my dream jobs, I was robbed of all my things in New York City, right? I lost what at the moment seemed to me everything. Like, I only had the clothes on my body. Like, you literally took everything from me. But I needed to experience that to know that you can take everything that I own and I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, it sucked when it happened. Yeah, I was like, what? Why me? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I needed that to happen, because when I got back home after my trip to New York, I gave away so many things and I felt so freeing. I was like, I don't need these things. I only kept what I felt like I needed, not just things that I just liked having just because it's nice to have. If that makes sense. It made me know that no matter where I was in my life, if you ever took material things away from me, I will be perfectly fine. Especially the second time around. First time, it was rough. But now if that ever were to happen to me again, I'd be perfectly fine. It would suck. It would be very, like, inconvenient to my life, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't feel like it's the end of the world, right? I'd be able to bounce back a lot faster. That's the thing about bouncing back. The second time it happens to you, you're like, try again. I've done this before, right? Number 2, remind yourself of who you are. I feel like that was like a quote from Lion King or Wakanda. It goes something like that. But anyways, remind yourself of who you are. Sometimes when you get caught up and down in a relationship or friendship or job or conversation, you forget your purpose. You forget, like, no, just because that person didn't find value in me and that job didn't find value in me doesn't mean I don't have great value. Like, for instance, recently I had a conversation with a really close friend of mine, and they weren't understanding the decision I've made to live the lifestyle that I live. Some people think, oh, she's busy all the time and why can't I just choose one thing and all these other things? But for me, I find value in using all my talents and all my skills. If I'm not using one and I'm only picking one, then I don't find purpose in that. And a lot of times people are like, well, just have hobbies. Why do you have to have them as jobs? Which is really weird, because I'm like, why are you telling me how to live my life? But at the same time, it's a decision that I've made for myself. I've tried other ways and know that this is the way that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but I'm okay with that. But when I had that conversation with that friend, I was getting frustrated. Like, why aren't they understanding me? Why aren't they understanding this is what I want and I love it? And if I were to die tomorrow, I'd feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to. But that conversation left me feeling like a friend of mine or someone close to me wasn't understanding how it took me a long time to make this decision to live this life, and that their conversation made me think that they think I don't know what I'm doing. Like, their advice was better for me than the decision I made for myself. And I was feeling like, why don't they understand? Like, I'm so happy. This is the life I chose. I want this. And I'm the happiest I've ever been. And they were like, well, why don't you just have a regular 9 to 5? Why don't you just do a 9 to 5 that you like? I felt like they needed to understand my life. And in your job, your friendship, whatever, doesn't need to understand it. After I got done talking to them, I kind of felt like, ugh, why don't they understand? I just had to stop and be like, I know who I am. I have peace with who I am, and that's okay, and that's enough. If even a close friend of mine doesn't understand the decisions that I've made and thinks that maybe I should do things a little differently, that's okay. It's not, my life isn't meant for someone to understand. And honestly, what I think is really cool is if the people closest to you don't even understand your life and it doesn't make sense, to me, in my world, the way I think you're actually doing more of what you're supposed to be doing. I think when we take risks in life, when we do things and we live out our purpose more, it's so extreme that people don't understand it. I feel like when your life makes a little bit too much sense and it's a little safe, I think you're kind of just staying like this. I don't feel like you're really growing or challenging yourself, right? Because if the greatest, most successful people in the world tried to explain to us in their stage 1 when it really started what they were trying to do, we'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. We tell people like Albert Einstein, why don't you just work for this other company, you know? We tell the greats to just work for a company that's in the field that they like, instead of creating something for themselves or a lifestyle that's different than the regular. I can go off on a tangent on that, but I'm not. Just remind yourself of who you are. If you're in a relationship and the person doesn't value, remind yourself of your values and how important you are. If a job doesn't value you for who you are, probably you're not supposed to be there anymore, right? Know that you're very smart, you're a hard worker. And if they don't accept you for that, it's time to grow and branch on to something else. If a friendship doesn't value having you close anymore, then don't hold on to that closeness. Just accept the distance. Friendships come and go, get close and further away. Just let them be what they're supposed to be, and as long as you don't force it, you're stress-free. Did I just rhyme? Okay, I'm done with that tangent. Let's just get to the third point. Third thing to do on how to bounce back. Pick yourself up. Pick yourself up. I look like I'm praising Jesus right now. Pick yourself up. All right, so if something hits you, a conversation, a relationship, a situation brings you down, instead of staying down and feeling like, oh, that sucks and I'm sad and oh no, you gotta pick yourself up. So what does picking yourself up look like to you? For me, it starts with positive affirmations. After I remind myself of who I am, I go, you're smart, you're great. Like if it's with the job, I'm like, you're valued, you bring so much to the table. So how about you work for a company that notices your value, right? If that's what's important to you. You're not gonna find, when you're working for someone else, nothing's always gonna be perfect, but deciding what you wanna complain about. Like I'd rather complain about long hours and something that I'm obsessed in love with than doing something I hate and then only doing it for a few hours. That makes sense? That's just what I choose. Or maybe picking yourself up means watching a sermon, a podcast, reading a book, getting fresh air, working out, exercising, being active, hanging out with people. Because if you're down, sometimes we want to fall into this hole of I'm alone, no one understands me, woe is me, right? So maybe being out with friends, or maybe because you distract yourself with friends, finally being alone by yourself and your own thoughts is the way you pick yourself back up again. Whatever that is, do that. Pick yourself back up. And that's it. Just keeping it simple to start and not overthinking how to bounce back from any situation, anything you're going through, I think is the best way. When we overthink it, we 3 hours go by and we're sitting there, we're like, what did I accomplish? Nothing but sadness and sad music. So if you have any questions or any other advice on how you love to bounce back, go ahead and let me know, or let all of us know in the comments below. Continue to subscribe or tell your homie, hey, I like these videos, you should watch them too. All right, and you can do that by hitting the subscribe button below and hit the bell, because sometimes it's every Friday, sometimes it's every other Friday. I'm either posting on here or on IGTV as well. Until the next video, peace, love, and balance. And balance. I don't know why I shimmy. At least I shimmy with my shoulders, not my boobs, right? Okay, that's it.